Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of...
You may have heard of the latest study about intermittent fasting and how it demonstrates that there's no real weight loss benefits to the strategy over simpler forms of weight loss. But if you're someone that turns on the news to get your information, things about nutrition science, weight loss, diet, etc., it can get really confusing and frustrating because it seems like the information is constantly contradicting itself. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Workout Nerd Out. For you first timers, I'm Julio Lopez, a certified strength and conditioning specialist with over 12 years of experience as a personal trainer, specializing in helping busy men and women lose weight, gain strength, and feel better about themselves. I also have my master's degree in nutrition. Here's the absolute truth about diet trends like intermittent fasting. There's going to be evidence that supports its effectiveness in helping people lose weight, and there's also going to be evidence that completely contradicts prior studies supporting its effectiveness. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video about coffee filtration methods that leave compounds that can raise bad cholesterol levels. But at the same time, those same compounds have anti-diabetic and anti-inflammation properties. Even as someone with a master's in nutrition, I totally understand how this can get confusing, especially for those of you who have busy careers and families that you have to think about. Today, I'm going to go over the pros and cons about intermittent fasting to help you make sense and better determine if it's the right weight management strategy for you. Finally, before going forth with your decision, please make sure that you discuss your decision with your doctor. A massive new study just challenged intermittent fasting, but not in the way headlines are telling you. On February 16th, Cochrane Library published a systematic review about intermittent fasting, which was reported as proof positive that intermittent fasting was ineffective for weight loss. But that's not exactly the entire story. The review looked at 22 studies that amounted to nearly 2,000 adults to compare intermittent fasting with traditional weight loss dietary strategies, i.e. smaller portions, substituting high-calorie items with low-calorie items, etc., and as a control, individuals who did not make any changes to their diet. The new review revealed that there is no added benefit to using intermittent fasting for weight loss compared to traditional methods. To make it clear, this doesn't mean that intermittent fasting doesn't work for weight loss, but rather that it's not going to make a person lose weight faster or slower, nor keep weight off longer than traditional weight loss diets. It works, but it's not a magic bullet. Fasting isn't something magical, but rather it's the calories that matter. I've worked with hundreds of folks who thought that they needed longer workouts or stricter diets. They didn't. If you want a realistic starting point, I have a free 5-day sustainable weight loss email course that breaks this down step by step. No extremes, no BS. You can sign up by going to this link. The thought process behind intermittent fasting is that its limited window to eat is supposed to induce a person to eat less throughout the day, which would contribute to a caloric deficit. Throughout the day, your body is constantly burning calories, whether it's when you're sitting at your desk, or walking your dog, or lifting weights. Weight gain happens when you're consistently taking in more calories than you're burning, and vice versa. Proponents for intermittent fasting believe that the tighter window means you're going to feel satiated during that time frame when you're allowed to eat, hence fewer calories can be consumed. If you're pregnant, listen closely. Intermittent fasting is not widely recommended for pregnant women because the extended window where a woman is fasting can be harmful to the fetus. In general, most weight loss diets aren't recommended for pregnant women, and they should be more focused on eating the most healthy, nutrient-rich foods to help the unborn child thrive before birth. There are a couple different ways that people approach intermittent fasting. Two popular approaches are 5-2 and 16-8. For the 5-2 approach, a person eats normally for 5 days of the week, whereas they're limited to just one 500 to 600 calorie meal for the remaining 2 days of the week. People are recommended not to have the low calorie days to happen consecutively. In the 16-8 approach, one is allowed to eat while in an 8-hour window and has to be fasting for the remaining 16 hours. Most have reported that the first 2 to 3 weeks can feel pretty brutal, but many are able to get accustomed and feel less hangry when they get used to it. What is allowed when partaking in intermittent fasting? In the time frame where one is supposed to be fasting, drinking water and zero-calorie beverages like black coffee and unsweetened tea is permitted. Meanwhile, in the hours that he's able to feed, overeating and packing in high-calorie junk food is discouraged. They are still instructed to eat healthy and nutrient-rich meals, as well as those that keep them unsatiated during the fasting hours. Meal plans like the Mediterranean diet that are high in produce, healthy fats, and lean proteins are highly recommended. Is there a weight loss advantage to intermittent fasting compared to conventional diet? No. In fact, the results are essentially the same, where about 3.4% of weight loss was observed for intermittent fasting, in which a baseline of 5% or more has to be reached to be deemed meaningful or significant weight loss. The reason, as determined by the latest research, is that it's not so much the way that caloric restriction is achieved, i.e. longer fasting periods versus simply eating fewer calories. The lowered caloric intake is going to lead to weight loss. Whether or not someone is successful in losing weight is his consistency and discipline in sticking with the principles of the dieting plan that he adopts. Before anyone decides to try intermittent fasting, it's important to know that it's safe for them and to run it by their doctor first. Two groups that have medical or nutrition experts concerned are pregnant women and those with type 1 diabetes. When a woman is pregnant, the goal is to help the fetus thrive by maximizing nutrient-rich foods and knowing that this is not the appropriate time for a woman to be worried about weight loss. For those with type 1 diabetes, while there are currently no studies, it's believed that extended fasting hours can yield dangerous hypoglycemic levels. Unlike what you see in the movies, the scientific community definitely abides by ethical standards that discourage against studies that are potentially dangerous and life-threatening. It's important to know that there are real and potential benefits to intermittent fasting that has the medical community supporting the dietary strategy, such as reducing cardiovascular risk and improving cognitive health. In a 2025 study, researchers saw reductions in blood pressure, midsection fat reduction, possibly lost visceral fat, and improved glucose levels. Also, findings of possible reverse or delays of Alzheimer's disease may occur with intermittent fasting when it's adhered to, and it could reduce or better manage epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, autism, Parkinson's disease, mood, and anxiety. Of course, there's still more research needed for each of these health benefits to positively conclude that intermittent fasting is really helpful. In conclusion, while intermittent fasting isn't the magic bullet that's going to have fat melt off, it can still be an effective way to lose weight. The latest review comparing intermittent fasting with conventional dieting demonstrated that weight loss was pretty much the same between those strategies, which was widely expected by the medical and nutrition experts. It was mostly social media influencers and lay people sharing their anecdotal stories that inflated intermittent fasting's effectiveness. Nevertheless, there are possible cognitive and heart health related benefits that may be produced by adopting and adhering to intermittent fasting that has a lot of medical professionals hopeful, but we'll have to see before that is proven to be true. So that does it for today's Workout Nerd Out. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if you know anyone who can benefit from this information, please share it with them. Until next time, I'll see you on the next Workout Nerd Out.